the crash is going to be, and they're absolutely right. All right, we're going to take one phone call. Apparently Mike Adams is on the line. Mike, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Thank you, Mike. It's great to join you.
Well, so what's going on?
Well, a fan of our website, Natural News, which has been banned by Google, heard your show and said I should call in and catch up with you on this. So I'm calling in. Thanks for the coverage so far.
Well, I mean, I use your website as a resource all the time. I link to it all the time. I think it is a very important resource. And I think what Google has done just absolutely reveals that Google has decided they are now going to take over the job of controlling what people know about health and food and safety. And, of course, I'm telling all of my listeners, stop using Google anyway, because you're not the only website they've done this to, and start using non-Google search engines like Yandex in order to find the information you need to make good decisions.
That's great advice. I think what we're seeing right now is that, elements of the deep state can't really censor you directly, but they can push the agenda out to corporations who will play with them, who will do their bidding. And I think this is what we're seeing now with Google and to some extent Facebook and Twitter and others. It's mass censorship. They're trying to shift people's view of what they see as reality so they can control that reality. But they're denying people access to real truth. That's the problem.
Okay, Mike, can you stay through the station identification? I'd like to take this into hour number 2.
You bet.
All right, thanks a lot. And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show. We are talking with Mike Adams from naturalnews.com. We're talking about the fact that Google has simply erased Natural News from their search databases, and if they're doing it to Natural News today, who knows who they're going to do it to tomorrow. Obviously, Google is siding with corporations that find information about the risks involved with certain technologies to be a threat to their profitability. And obviously, it's a good reason not to be using Google, to go to alternative search engines like Yandex. But it certainly is a dangerous precedent. And, Mike, I'm not a lawyer, obviously, but it almost seems like there might be grounds for a lawsuit here in terms of some of the common carrier rules and regulations that information media are supposed to be complying with. Are you talking to a lawyer about whether there's an action you can take to sue Google?
You're right. We are talking to 2 different law firms right now and exploring the options, but we've also been contacted by many other websites that have been completely banned, outrageously banned, for no apparent reason, who want to take part in a class action lawsuit or antitrust action. We're going to be launching a White House petition within an hour or so that people can also sign on to. We want to communicate to the Trump administration that, the FTC might want to take a much closer look at this, because what we do know as a fact is that this censorship of our website by Google was a decision made by a person. It wasn't driven by an algorithm. There was no malicious code on the site, no malware, no infection, nothing. It was a person making a decision to turn off the entire website without warning and without justification.
Did they send you any kind of an explanation, or it just happened?
No, it just happened. There was no explanation whatsoever, no warning, nothing. And we're registered with their webmaster tools. So, you go through there's no message. They just turn it off, and then you have to try to dig around and try to find out what's going on. You have to try to communicate with them. We're at their mercy. This is the issue. And they can do it to anyone for any reason at any time. This is really nothing less than a digital execution or assassination of an individual or an entire library of knowledge.
It's updated Nazi book burning.
It really is. It's a modern-day book burning. It's fascism at its worst. We're watching it unfold right now, and I can't help but think it's because we have supported President Trump through the election, and after inauguration, we've been a pro-Trump voice arguing in favor of some of his policies. And I believe that's why we're being targeted, Mike.
Well, certainly the fact that Trump is trying to put together, or has put together, a vaccine safety commission under the leadership of Robert Kennedy Jr., that has got the $30 billion a year vaccine cartel very worried, and they're already trying to push back with puff pieces in the media. And $30 billion is a lot of motive to basically win at all costs. But what our listeners and readers need to be doing right now is making a big stink about this on all your social media, that Google is deciding for you what you need to know and what you don't need to know. I mean, I've been a big fan of naturalnews.com for a lot of years. Like I said before, I link to a lot of the stories on it regularly about vaccine safety, GMO, various other health issues. And again, for Google to take this step and not even provide an explanation of why, basically shows that Google has developed a very heavy hand. And remember, it's not like Google is without sin. They've already been caught rigging their readership numbers to improve ad rates, ad metrics. Now they're having to allow third parties to sort of audit that to keep their advertisers happy. We found out, certainly on Facebook, that their trending stories were not actually based on number of clicks on stories, but were just being arbitrarily decided by some of the people at Facebook. So we've seen YouTube artificially lower view counts on videos that do not conform to the current establishment agenda. They've done it to some of our videos. We've caught them doing it. We'll have 100,000 views one day, and then the next day it's down to just a few hundred. So much of the censorship has been very covert, but this is definitely a new escalation and made it very overt.
That's exactly what it is. What you've described in terms of them altering the numbers is what we call a kind of soft censorship. And they've been doing that for a long time, where they sort of covertly penalize natural news or other independent media news sources to make sure that the so-called mainstream media stories show up first. That's a kind of soft censorship. But this is hard censorship. This is wiping you out. And the most insidious thing about it is when people are searching for a term, such as thimerosal, the mercury in vaccines, they don't know what they're not being shown. In other words, if you see 10 results on a Google page, they don't tell you that they've removed the natural news link that proves the CDC knew thimerosal would damage some African-American children. They don't tell you that link's not there. So it's an insidious form of censorship where you as a user don't even know what you're missing. You don't even have a right to the debate. You don't get to read both sides of the debate and make up your own mind. Instead, Google makes up your mind for you, and that's a form of mind control.
That is exactly what mind control is, controlling the brain by controlling what it knows, so that it will come to, of its own free will, come to the conclusion that's been engineered for it. And we're starting to see where it is becoming very obvious what they're doing. And we have a saying around our little part of the world that the fastest way to bring down a dictatorship is to force them to act like one where everybody can see it. And we certainly saw it on MSNBC when that lady said it's the job of the corporate media to control what people are thinking. We're seeing it with Google banning your website completely from any search results. And I hope you get a class action lawsuit going here. And certainly we need the independent media to cover this story, because you're never going to hear a word about this in the corporate media at all. The corporate media is trying to reassert its dominance over what people are thinking. Obviously, Google has gone over to the dark side of the force. And again, you've got to start finding other search engines. You've got to stop using Facebook and all these other compromised platforms and start using these brand new startups in social media like VK, Gad. Somebody sent me a list. There's already about 20 new startups in social media that are making huge gains in the marketplace because people are fed up with their communications being edited and tinkered with and tampered with by these giant social media corporations who are obviously compromised and in bed with the established order.
Well, what happens, though, is even these small organizations, if they become very popular and they grow, they become a bigger and bigger machine. They need more corporate advertising to fund their larger and larger operations and server farms and so on. And pretty soon the corporations have so much influence with them that they're calling the shots. And that's what's happened with Google. You know, Google has been at war with natural medicine for a long time. If you try to advertise natural medicine products on AdWords, those are disallowed because they say, well, you're not selling FDA-approved medicine. So herbs and superfoods and vitamins and minerals and so on are considered almost contraband by Google. Well, whose interest does that serve? serves the interests of the pharmaceutical industry, whose ads are allowed by Google, and whose search results show up first. It's the pharmaceutical industry, or the official medical industry, or the official cancer industry, or the official vaccine industry, and on and on. So it's really being run by special interests, which are greed-driven corporations. Google once said that they wanted to be an organization that did no evil. Now they have become the evil that they once claimed to oppose.
They certainly have. Anything else for our listeners, Mike?
Well, just go to censored.news if you want to go directly to a lot of censored news stories that we aggregate from many websites. All of them are being censored. So the website is just censored.news. No ads, no tracking. That website's a great place to stay informed. And thank you for having me on, Mike.
All right. Well, Mike, anytime you have anything that's on naturalnews.com that you feel is significant, send it to me, and I'll make sure it's linked to from whatreallyhappened.com.